In the northern reaches of a land long forgotten by maps and swallowed by forests older than time, there lay a village so remote, so buried beneath the shroud of myth and moss, that no road led to it, no bird flew over it, and no outsider had stepped foot there in over 100 years. They called it Verloc, though the name was never spoken above a whisper, and even that whisper seemed to rot the air. Legends told of a time when Verloc thrived, a humble place of thatched roofs and fertile soil, but when the sun last set and never rose again, something ancient awoke beneath the earth, and the village became a tomb with living bones. When Dr. Elias Wren, an anthropologist obsessed with vanishing settlements, received a cryptic letter postmarked with symbols from a dead dialect and signed only with the phrase, "It still breathes beneath us," he followed the trail through valleys and snow-choked hills until he arrived at the edge of a forest so thick the trees grew together like locked ribs. He hacked through that green grave for 3 days until he emerged into a clearing where Verloc sat, untouched by time yet sagging with decay, its houses leaning inward like they were listening, and its cobbled paths writhing with black moss that pulsed like veins. No people greeted him, only silence that pressed against his ears like deep water. And as he explored the village, he noticed the signs of life, not recent, but impossibly paused. Fires cold, but with fresh ash, meals rotted on plates, but with utensils midair, toys dropped mid. In the village center stood a monolithic stone altar wrapped in rusted chains, stained black with old blood, and carved with runes that seemed to shift when unobserved. The village church, long split by a lightning strike, bore murals of a god, with no name depicted, not in glory, but in punishment, a horned, serpentine creature buried alive beneath a tree, whose roots now tore through the chapel floor. On the third night, Elias heard the bells toll not once, but 13 times, though no rope hung from the tower, and saw, from his candle-lit room in the village, figures begin to emerge from the woods, tall, pale, with hollowed eyes that glowed faintly, their mouths sewn shut with red thread, and their necks encircled with wreaths of thorns. The villagers, long thought dead, had never left. They had become the keepers of the slumbering horror beneath Verloc, cursed to maintain the ritual that kept it dreaming, and they now turned to Elias as an intruder, an outsider, a heart still, free from the pact. He fled to the altar, driven by the frenzied warnings of a child's voice echoing from the well, and there he uncovered the truth. Verloc had once been a place of worship, not for any god, but for a being cast out of creation, itself a parasite of reality, sealed in the flesh of the land, and fed not with blood but belief, madness, and memory. Elias, trembling with revelation, attempted to flee, but the village shifted, roads folding like paper, skies bleeding into shadow, and the forest closing in, as if Verloc was no longer in the world he had come from. Trapped, he watched as the villagers performed their ritual, drawing a circle of salt and ash, binding him to the altar as the final offering, a voice from outside, the last element needed to awaken their sleeping master. But as the ritual neared completion, Elias, in a final act of defiance, read aloud from his field journal, tearing pages and setting them aflame, believing knowledge, his only weapon, might wound the entity, might seal it once more. The sky tore open like skin, revealing an eye that spanned the stars, and the village shook with its awakening. Screams echoed from the trees, from the soil, from the very wind, as reality peeled like paint and time buckled like warped wood. Yet, in that rupture, something strange happened. The villagers began to dissolve, not with pain, but peace, their curses broken by Elias's disruption, their souls returning to whatever heaven they had once believed in. The altar cracked, the roots withered, the eye blinked, and for a moment, everything was still. Elias awoke, far from Verloc, on the floor of his study, weeks later, gaunt and raving, clutching a fragment of black stone, etched with runes that still bled ink. He tried to tell others, but his words twisted in his mouth, and his memories grew louder each night, whispering in tongues no living man should know. And somewhere, far away, in the places maps forget, Verloc waits again, rebuilt in shadow, its soil thirsty, its god drowsing, and its invitation is simple. Old envelope with no return address, already sliding beneath the door of the next curious soul.